Well, welcome to my stream. Welcome to my stream. Showing it off on Facebook and YouTube. And this will be recorded and saved on Facebook and YouTube. I've been wanting to talk about something for a while. My life. I know it doesn't mean much to some people, but it does mean a lot to me. So we're going to talk about it. It's going to take a couple beers. Talk about it. It's my book I wrote months ago. So we're going to talk about it bit by bit. Before that, I'm going to go grab me another beer and we're going to sit down. We're going to talk about it chapter by chapter, word by word, the whole shebang. Might take more than one part. So I'll be back with another beer and we'll begin. Till then, I'm covering up my room with my favorite Papa Roach beanie. So keep things a secret. I'm back. 2 beers. Let's begin a long story. The book and the author. And the book is written by me. These are 2 beers. 2 beers. Beer. Well, this is my chat. You don't have to be here if you don't want to. Anyways, let's talk about it. The book is called Life of a Good Man by me, Joseph K. Colyer. I wrote this book about several months ago, and I'm not going to show you what it looks like, but I'm going to read it off as it goes. This is a story of a boy turned to a man. The story starts as anything we all have heard before. A boy to a man, from trials and tribulations, fortnights, or forthrights and comings. But me, the narrator, I will tell you the story from my own words of how this boy to a man, became loved and hated by many people, but this story, well, be long, and well, it's going to take some time to say much about him. He still lives, just has a hard time like anyone else. I am just his friend to tell the real story of him. Of this, I mean, the real story of this man that fell far so short of everything he has done or will do in his time, that he lives among us all. Each chapter is of a story to the end of his own, of his life from a boy to a man. Hope this can clear some air about him, so I will perform this autobiography of him. Enjoy. Each time I place a new chapter of his life, can be sometime or any day. For now, wait for more things to come. I'm going to start with chapter 1. Chapter 1. Let's start with chapter 1. Chapter 1. The birth of a child. And I'm telling it like it is, so bear with me. That's where the beer comes in. It's going to take a bit to read this story. But I got all the time in the world. All right. Like I said, chapter 1, the birth of a child. It was a Thursday afternoon. Date of birth was January 4th, 1996. A child born upside down, as the doctor said, he was breached. The mother of the child could not wait for the birth of her son any more. He was supposed to be born on the 1st, but stayed inside the womb for 2 days or 3. But the child was born healthy and strong. The father was so happy to see his son born into the world of many difficult times. The late 90s were some strange things going on with the world, but at this very time, baby called Brian Joseph Argo was here. Everybody watched as he cried and fed from the milk of his mother, slept like an angel under God's grace. But the state between the mother and the father was very argumental after he was born. Come from a poor family that didn't have much to live on, just the wisdom of the parents. He was grown up with mainly the mother for most of his life, most of his 9 months of his birth. Very shy child. He was at first, but opened up to all who were around him. A joy he was, just playing, crying, eating food, like most babies at first. But there was a choice made by his mother and father. The father left once in his lifetime, but wanted his mother to live with him in a very strange place called Arkansas, instead of California. The parents made an arrangement to be married before said child was supposed to start a new journey in a very strange part of the United States, of all backwoods type of people instead of the city folk. As child did not much older, did much child did much older he got into small mischiefs. Things like calling 911, disappearing around the apartment, little things that the parents kept a close eye on. That was chapter 1. Basically, the birth of this child. His birth, like most, it's like birth was new to the world. Like you, I, everybody. Young. Didn't know his A's, his numbers, nothing. Innocent he was. But he learned a lot over the years. But chapter 1 is very simple. We'll go to chapter 2. And this is where things get a bit more interesting with this child's life. Chapter 2. The steps he walked. Chapter 2. A home was being made for the baby boy named Brian Joseph, or Brian J. Argo, not Joseph, but his middle name is Joseph. Started the house of 1226 North 12th Place, where the boy learned that was his home. Small boy, just learning to be potty trained, and yes, his own mother kept wiping his ass till he was about 6 years old. Funny thing of him, but getting older was hard. Not even started school yet, because he didn't know what was about. He was a boy learning like everyone else. He was very special. Just time tells all tales. He was only 6 years old. One day, he was on the bus coming back home. He was sitting next to a girl that was minding her own business, but she found Brian and gave him a kiss on the forehead. He didn't think anything of it at all. He was young. But he told his mother right then and there what happened. He was so excited of what happened. He told his mother, and she started laughing about the whole thing. Plus was telling him, you need to go marry her now. But no, they got to know each other. And then they got to know each other. Find out her name. It was Kimberly Cole. She was a very sweet little girl. Just wanted to know Brian. Nothing too crazy about it. They had somewhat of a love thing going on, but they were children, just having fun. But one day, she took him to a place, a park not far from his house, and that where he had his first with Kimberly. It was a sweet thing, plus he had to tell his mother what he did. Mom just kept on laughing about it for some time now. And then his dad found out, just was happy for him. But as this time has gone by, he was making friends with the local kids in the neighborhood. Some passed on away from Rogers, passed away from Rogers. Just hard to find those stories because they were so a little part of his life. Some names were JJ, Levi, Pokey. JJ was a young Hispanic boy that Brian met from school. Levi was an old friend of the next door neighbors across the street. Pokey was an African American boy, plus Levi was a white boy. But his best friend was a boy named Dominic. He met him through one of his mother's friends. Her name was Teresa Ekins. And her boy was Dominic Ekins. But the story to this had a sad story for a longer time to explain. But now we're going through the past of the boy named Brian Joseph Argo. To explain chapter 2, it's not that hard. Little old Brian Joseph Argo moved out of California, went to Arkansas, just like any normal boy, with his parents, but they had an arrangement. The boy's father and mother had been married before he could live in Arkansas. That was the kicker. That was the kicker. Arrangements were made and set, and things were looking a little bit better. But as I read, I see that he was stubborn young man, very stubborn in his ways, and being young and dumb, child, doesn't know any better. And then he met a girl on the bus coming home. Crazy thing. That is, he was interested in this girl. Interested in wanting to be with her. California is where he was born. California was. But his home was here in Arkansas, where I'm speaking from today. And he had a little kiss at the park, right down the street from where he lived, with a girl named Kimberly Cole. It was sound very interesting to me, because this boy didn't know any better. boy didn't know any better. He's just young, immature, just like everybody else, but interested in this girl. And he had a couple friends that he made. The next door neighbor, Levi, an African American boy named Pokey. That was his name. That's what I understand. Pokey was a African American boy, young, same age as Brian. But his best friend, his true friend, was a man named Dominic. And he was a kind of a white boy. He was actually a mix. He was like a black and Mexican boy. Can't explain that one. And JJ, he was just a Mexican boy. Hispanic, be more proper terms. But yeah, those were his friends. A girl named Kimberly, a boy named Levi, a boy named JJ, a boy named Pokey, and a boy named Dominic. As far as I gather, they were close. His first set of real friends. But time's passed since then, and no more. Everybody grows up. Everybody forgets. But Brian never forgets. Yeah, that's when he was young, though. He was a young man, making friends. But now we're going to get into some more serious conversation. Well, chapter 3 was never something he wrote or finished. But chapter 4, this one's a hard one to swallow. Chapter 4, the parent breakup. And like most, this is like any normal thing for most children that grew up in a situation like this. It's hard for most children and adults. This happened when he was in the age of 9. And very hard. But we'll proceed. Chapter 4, the parent breakup. This chapter is more of a hard pill to swallow. Brian, a young boy at the age of 8 years old, had what most children grew up with: the mother, the father. Had the parents who loved him, had a big brother to play with, had all the friends in his life. He had everything an 8-year-old boy had: the best friend, video games, seeing movies with his mom or dad, go out, hang with his friends whenever he could, wanted to school, went to school, was so happy, just like a normal boy had. But this is things changed in his life. His mother and father were not happy at all. Mom complained a lot. The mother complained a lot, about the house and the food. His mom didn't really raise him. He could do whatever he wanted to. His father was the same as long as he told him where he was going to find him if needed. Maybe. But the father was a very heavy drinker, always coming home drunk and hammered. Not the healthy lifestyle for this child. He was supposed to be happy that he had both his parents at his side always. But no, his mother had a huge mistake. Another man from somewhere came into the home that Brian once had, and it was gone. The man ruined both parents in half. There was more fights, arguments, just like any acts with each other, couple acts with each other in the home or outside the home. This was the pinnacle turning point of this young boy. The last birthday, when he was 9, with his full family of 4, now faced the choice. There are two options: stay with the mother or stay with the dad or father. Young boy Brian stood at the airport called XNA and chose to hold his mother's hand and fly to California. This was a turning point where young Brian lost lots of friends, and hope that he may not ever come back to Arkansas. This was more of his more of his problems come from outliving both of his parents at his side, one in California, another in Arkansas. This typically puts a strain on a young boy to change psychologically. It messes him up. But now we can talk about his past in California. Parent breakup. Like most children, it's hard. It's hard having one parent in another place, and it's hard to stay with another. Most people don't understand that 9-year-old boy being separated by his parents. It's hard to fathom that for most people. It changes the mind of the child by a lot. It makes them sad. It changes them. You lose friends. You lose people that care about you when you are 9. You don't get to see them again. And when your parents make wrong decisions, it affects the child. And the child learns from that over the years. Sometimes you can't change what your parents did. You can't. You just have to live with it. But that does put strains on the person's mind and health. To this day, it still bothers me. But I've grown up since then. but it still hurts. And the story just doesn't get better for the boy. It gets worse. Chapter 4 was a start. Chapter 5 tells a much greater wound that surprisingly he's still around. But we'll get into it. This one's a mouthful, so bear with me. And to be frank, most children don't really know the opportunity of when they leave one parent and go with another to the other side of the country. That just puts a lot of strain on the child to make that choice. I live to tell the tale. It wasn't easy. In chapter 5, this doesn't get any better. Chapter 5, The Life in California. This is where things get a bit more personal. California. Well, to put it this way, not so great for young Brian. For 2 years, for 2 years of him was hell on earth. Through his eyes, he had a very grumpy grandfather that he stood up to multiple times, even though that it was rude of him because his mother's dad could not walk. Lost his legs many years ago. Young Brian could make fun of him of most days, but he was young and didn't know any better. His mother would sometimes protect Brian from getting hurt from his Grandpa Claude. His Grandma Pat was a very, very sweet lady. She couldn't really walk much, too, but had a walker to help her. She lost some of her leg muscles from carrying Grandpa's wheelchair around. Plus, it put loss of strain on his mother's back. But to add as a side note, young Brian with his mother and brother would come some summers to meet and stay with his grandparents every other summer. But this was not every other summer. This was permanent, very permanent. For a time, yes, but we will get to that. We'll get there soon. Young Brian was a white boy from Arkansas. He was always picked on by every Hispanic boy in his class. Got into many fights in school. And for one, he was big and fat. So they thought they could be fun to pick on him, the white boy. They didn't care one bit about him, and there were the friends he kind of made with, but they sometimes stole from him by coming to his grandparents' house and stealing his things, his brother's things, like games, trading cards, like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh cards. He got very upset and didn't want to talk to them anymore, but tried to make friends in the neighborhood didn't go quite so well. As a side note, this is why everyone turns on Brian from then to now. He expects something happens, doesn't matter how old you are or how old you get. Side note, back to the chapter. So, Brian was not good about making any friends. He mainly stayed in his room, played video games on his old Game Boy Advance every day. So the life in California was very sad for him. No hopes, no dreams, nothing. But there's still more to the story than we know. He had a dream that turned into reality. By another time, he was separated from his mother for a couple months because it's what his mother did to her parents. It's what brought about. It's about the same guy that cheated his parents away from each other. And his name came up again and ruined things again. At one time, young Brian was living with his aunt Kimberly, his mother's sister, but it was in the best interest for from his mom's parents to stay at their place so young Brian could go to school. It was hard being away from his mother, but he got through it like a young man. Through through all these through all the art through all through our things that really happened to him. No lies, no jokes. Here to make of chapter 5. Chapter 5 was yeah, during football. That's we might get to that eventually. All funny shit we used to. Actually, that is in the actually does happen later in the book, but we'll get to that soon. But right now we're going to talk about chapter 5. For a young boy moving out from Arkansas to California is pretty hard. It's a new place, don't know anybody, you're all alone, no friends, just alone, and quiet. And all you can do is try to make friends, but then they betray you. That's why it's hard for me. Because every time I made friends, they always betrayed me. Every single time. So I have trust issues. And yes, the note is this is written by me, but from a past self. Myself now is much different, much wiser, but this is the past. And what I've learned from California was you really can't trust anybody, to be quite frank. You can try to trust other people, but it doesn't always work that way. You could try many times, but trusting people, it's not easy. The whole shebang. You really can't trust anybody. It's really not easy. It's not easy to trust anybody these days. Even when I was young, I couldn't trust anybody then. I hardly trust anybody now. I always think people are going to steal from me, lie to me, hate me. I've hardly found good people that's actually stuck around my life from when I got back to Arkansas. That's why California is, yes, that's where I'm from. Got a tattoo to prove it. I was out there. But California was not good to me. I was picked on a lot. Picked on, bullied, beaten up at school. Always coming home with tears down my eyes. Just not having it. I mean, no one gave a damn about me then. And I just don't know. I want to read one more chapter because I'm getting a little more emotional about this and come back to this later. That's why it's going to be in parts. And I'll put my description, chapters 1 through 6 this time, and then more chapters later. But chapter 5, California, that was not an easy choice to make to live in. It's hard. No one understands it unless you lived it. Bullying is a thing that still happens today in the most uneventful ways. California just ruined me from the inside out. That's why I don't want to live there, to be honest. I hate it. I hate it with passion. And it's never done me any good. Maybe I should stop talking about it and make it to the next chapter. But chapter 6 is a bit longer. They always get longer the farther you get into a book. And chapter 6 got a lot of life. I'm gonna try to attempt this by any means necessary, if I can. It doesn't really matter to me, to be honest. I'm gonna make my own book. I just want people to know me. It's just hard. But I'll talk about one more chapter, and then I'm going to end this because I might begin a bit a little more sad. So one more chapter, and we're calling it for the night, more or less. Let's share this with some people on my Facebook and stuff, or my clan, best friend, whole shit and caboodle. But Dane's not wrong. I'm going to get to a point of that chapter. It actually does happen in my life. I'll explain it. Right now, I need to figure out where I'm supposed to send something to. Think no one's really gonna care my Discord, but I'm like, hey, I'm talking about myself. You can like it or not. I don't give a damn. My life in a story. Well, I need to redo that. I can't spell today either. My life in story. I said form. I can't spell. Form. Form. Now, yes, none of my stuff is scripted. This is all live, no bullshits. Everything I say is said on here. No scripts. Just talking about myself. And I'm gonna let everybody enjoy. Because I'm gonna be getting off this since I don't make fool of myself. But then everybody gets to enjoy a good story. So here it goes. I mean, yeah. I was trying to relax so I can talk about the next chapter. So, because it's going to be a hard one to swallow. Oh, I put myself as a younger photo because why not? But we're about to get to chapter 6 in my book. So we're going to enjoy this one. And then I'm going to call it for a night because I've been talking about myself way too long. Chapter 6, The Hope. And if you want to go back and see some of my video, you can. But this is chapter 6, The Hope. This comes to a part of Brian's life as a boy still. With life being hard in California, there was hope, like the hope of getting through hard times. This is where young Brian had another time to change his life again. This is the time during school was still an ongoing for Brian. One day he was playing video games. The door to his grandparents' house rings. At most of the time, Brian would answer the door like any day. But this time it was different. As the big fat kid he was, he opened the door and saw his Aunt Luann. Next to her was Brian's dad, plus a woman named Jean Price. This is the woman who made young Brian later down the road. But as a child, he was so happy to see him again after 2 years without hearing or seeing him. Talking about his dad. He was happy his dad was visiting California to visit friends and family. The trip turned to a life-changing that made a big impact on his life. Him and his dad took many days together as father and son, like they had in Arkansas, all fun in the sun. They went places together, saw his uncle David from California and his aunt Luann. It was a great time and a golden age for him. A lot of memories of chatters or whatever. Cheers? I don't know, whatever he put down on his piece of paper. While his dad was there. Or cheers? I don't know. But this was hope comes into play. Young Brian had another choice to stay and be sad in California or go back with his dad and his girlfriend Jean. Young Brian asked his mom, but before he asked his mom and dad talked before young Brian asked to go back home. His mom and dad did agree that Brian can do whatever he would like to do. So when young Brian asked his mother if he could go, she let him go stay with his dad again. But this chapter is where all the good times and bad times come to Brian. This is where he had the choice, but now things have changed from then to now. To understand what I mean is that he went back home. That everywhere I can't speak English. That where everything happened to him. You read the reader will learn what really happened to Brian when he came home. Lots of bad things happened and good things happened. The next chapter should not be taken lightly because this is where the story really starts. When young Brian became into a man over time. There will be lots of sad tales and happy ones too. This will make you cry because this is what really happened to him. But hold on, we will get there soon. Chapter 6. Chapter 6. This is where hope comes into play for most people. I was given the opportunity to stay in stay in California or go back home to Arkansas. My life in California was not peaches and rainbows and glitter and unicorns and pots of gold and leprechauns and no. California to me at the age of 10 and 11 was pretty hard. It was just really hard. I bullied, picked on, made fun of, um, just shit. Really bad shit. I was unhappy. I was living a life where I didn't see much happiness in. It was hard. I went a bit crazy sometimes. I was losing hope, never seeing my dad again. I was angry, upset, frustrated, crying for help a lot of times. But when my dad came back to me, things changed. I was feeling hopeful again, things might have been better when my dad came. Things did over time. I got through 2 torturous years in California to come back home and be with my dad. That meant the world to me. Really did. And I miss him to this day now, because he's been dead for almost 4 years. As I've been recording this. Yeah, I made this book about several months ago. But I'm now talking about it because it's a good time to talk about it. And to be frank, I'm the one that wrote it, and I'm the narrator to it. I think I had the good common sense of what I was talking about, but reading it now is, I didn't know what I was talking about. It was all good in here, but it never came out here, but it was good in here. But yeah, it's part of my life right there. And what I mean by the end of that chapter is a lot of events take place after I get back. There's a lot of events that happened when I got back. A lot of good ones, bad ones. Today's events, as I'm recording this, a lot of crazy shit happened in this time frame. And do I forgive myself for these events that happened? Somewhat. Am I mad at myself for these events that happened? No. This shit happened? Yeah. Shit does happen. Quite a bit. Am I gonna cry about it? No. Shit's already happened. Am I gonna learn from it? Yeah. Pretty much. But it's just living the life in California is not all peaches and rainbows. For me, at least. It was hard. And when I get back here, it's not like California. I'm not a child anymore. I'm an adult. Things change. But what I feel now is what I felt was in California. Betrayed. Hated. Made fun of. And I wasn't thinking suicide back then like I am now as I'm recording this. I was a child that was scared. I was going to feed myself into that world. But I didn't. I got better. I got out of that. When I came back here, I met a lot of great people. Some I don't talk to anymore now, but yeah, it's life. But tomorrow night, I'll pick up where I left off. Chapter 7. The first 6 chapters are meaningful. It's just I haven't really quite finished it. I think about one day of publishing it to the world. Make a movie out of it someday as I'm recording this. So people can understand and relate to me. But about 5 chapters of conversation was about done for tonight, and be more later for the days that follow. Thank you for your patience. Have a blessed night or day.